All right, welcome everyone. This is Diabetes Prevention Program, Session 2, Get Active to Prevent T2. And so again, this is Angie and Sharon, your lifestyle coaches. And welcome back. You know, last session was the introduction to the program. So we're curious to hear how things went for you guys in this last week. This is a question that we always like to bring up in our group, just to give everyone the chance to reflect on the week before their session. So what worked for you and maybe what didn't work well since the first session or the last session. And so again, in thinking about this, it's a great chance to keep reflecting on the progress you're making. It's a great way to keep yourself accountable because only you can be accountable to yourself, you know. It's also a great chance to recognize what are some of your strengths or what's working really well for you and to keep building on those. And then also recognizing maybe what isn't working, what is proving to be challenging for you. And that's a chance for you to reach out to your lifestyle coaches and ask for help. So maybe you're struggling with weight loss. It'd be a great chance to reach out to us and we can help you kind of strategize something there. Or maybe you have questions about your action plan. Maybe you need help making it more detailed or specific. So just keep some of that in mind and take that chance every week to reflect on how things are going for you, because we like to emphasize that change doesn't happen overnight, right? It's a slow process with a bunch of these little steps. So yeah, maybe take the chance to use this prompt to journal a little bit for yourself. Normally in person, we would go around the room and let everyone kind of share a little bit about their week. And like this says, what went well, what didn't go well. So maybe take that time by yourself now and reflect on that by yourself.
All right. Thanks, Angie. Now we're going to go into the objectives of this lesson. So we're going to talk about the benefits of getting active. Then we're going to go into ways to get active. And finally, we're going to give you some time to create an action plan. So let's first start by talking about how getting active can lower your risk of type 2 diabetes. One way it does this is by helping you lose weight. The more active you are, the more calories you burn. So people are probably thinking, well, I've heard that word calorie, but I want to go just a little bit into what is a calorie. Because you think, oh, I don't know what that means. I just know foods are high in calories. So a calorie, this is the scientific definition of a calorie for nutrition. A calorie is the amount of energy required to raise the temperature of 1 kilogram of water by 1 degree Celsius. So it's basically the heat that's required to raise a temperature, and that's how they came up with the calorie. And they can actually take food and put it in a special thing, and you can actually figure out how many calories are in that food. So some foods have a lot of calories, and some foods don't have very much. So calories are a measure of energy, and you get them from food and drink. So you take them in from what you're drinking and what you're eating, and you're also using them for your body functions and physical activity. So in an ideal world, this is a scale, and these things are in balance. You're taking as many calories in as you are using through your physical activity. Body functions means like just breathing, sleeping, heart beating, all those things that just your body does without you even thinking about it. And so ideally you want this in balance. And we'll go into more when you're trying to lose weight. You want to actually have this balance at a different place.
To give you a visual or kind of a way to imagine this, we have a few examples of some very common foods in the standard American diet. And as we're thinking about these, keep in mind that the images that we'll show are foods that are very calorically dense. And so in order to keep this balance that we have here on the screen of calories in, calories out, your calories out are going to have to be way more if you have this calorically dense food. So what does this look like? Here we have some frosted donuts. So in one frosted donut, we don't have the calories listed here, but the number of steps required to burn off that donut is 6,549. And so my guess is that is maybe 3 miles. So that could be maybe like an hour and 20-minute walk. So here we have a 2% latte. That would take 4,444 steps to burn off. Just in one can of soda, that's 3,800 steps. And then this Big Mac is 12,632 steps. So that's maybe 6 miles. So just some images to keep in mind as we're thinking about calories and, again, keeping that balance of, burning those calories off as well.
Right. So, and we also getting active in terms of the benefits of getting active, it can lower your risk of type 2 diabetes in another way, because it helps lower your blood sugar. You might recall last week we're looking at that vein with the purple dots going through it and how there was so much more in someone with type 2 diabetes. Someone with type 2 diabetes who exercises regularly, that actually helps to lower the amount of glucose in the bloodstream. It does this by making your cells better able to use the insulin to take up the blood sugar. So some other things that happen here is it can improve your blood glucose control. It helps control blood pressure and cholesterol. It decreases complications in the heart. It increases your energy and strength. It improves circulation. And when exercise becomes a part of your regular lifestyle, it's a big impact on weight management. Some other things that exercise does is it really helps with sleep and mood. People who tend to exercise regularly tend to have much better moods. It improves your balance and flexibility. Little things like reaching down to pick something off the floor is much easier when you're physically active. And it also helps to lower our stress level. We don't react as intensely to stress when our bodies are physically active. And so as you know, we're going to be working towards at least 150 minutes of activity each week. It may take a while for you to reach that goal, but if you make small changes over time, you will get there.
Great. So we'll move on to ways to get active. So of course, there are many, many great ways to get active, and I'm sure everyone has their own preference, but we'll discuss some of these ideas and examples of different ways you can get active. So here we have listed biking, climbing the stairs, dancing, doing yard work, hiking, jogging, jumping rope, lifting weights, playing soccer, stretching, swimming, using resistance bands, walking briskly. And I'm sure there are many more examples that are popping into your head right now. But we also like to point out that oftentimes some of the movement that we're doing in our lives, we don't always think of as exercise. So I like that they've listed doing yard work here, or maybe gardening, or even cleaning around the house. Sometimes, if you're cleaning your whole house, you really kind of work up a sweat, and that can count towards your minutes, your 150 minutes each week. So keep in mind just to think about it as you're doing some of those activities, and recognize when you are being active and moving your body in a healthy way. Another piece to this is, remember that we want you to do 150 minutes at a moderate pace or more. So what does that mean? What is a moderate pace? So here we have a chart that kind of explains the difference between what's considered a light pace. So that means you can sing or carry on a conversation with little effort. And here we have moderate. And what you'll hear us say a lot is, use the talk test. And so this is when you can speak in full sentences, but you cannot sing. So you'll know that you're doing your moderately paced activity if you can talk, but you can't sing. Whereas if you can sing, you're not going quite hard enough. And then, of course, we have, the vigorous and the maximum effort, which if that fits with your health, that might be another level of fitness that you might strive for. So we'll move on to some of the resources that are in your participant guide. They have a lot of great resources for us in this lesson. So I'll take us over to Teo's story on page 3. So you'll start to notice in these participant guides that with every session, there's a story for us to read, and you'll be able to hopefully relate to the story, or maybe use the story as the opportunity to kind of pick out the challenges or the solutions that we're talking about for each topic of the session. So here's Teo's story. I'll read it out for all of us. Teo is at risk for type 2 diabetes. His doctor urges him to lose 20 pounds and work up to at least 150 minutes of activity each week. Teo and his wife have 5 children. The kids all play sports, and he spends a lot of time driving them to events. Teo also works full-time. On weekends, he works a second part-time job. When he has some free time, he likes to watch basketball on TV, but he rarely plays it. He spends a lot of time sitting. Teo finds some ways to get active. He walks on the sidelines during his children's sports events. He also walks with a friend during his lunch break each day. He plays basketball with his kids instead of watching it on TV. He takes the stairs instead of the elevator. Teo gets more active over time. These days, he's active for at least 150 minutes a week. His weight is going down, and his blood sugar is lower. He sleeps better than ever. Plus, he has more energy than he did before he got active. So you can see with Teo's story, he shared a little bit about the background. Maybe he was able to identify some of those challenges or some of those areas where he wasn't being active but could be. So he figured out some solutions to that and was able to incorporate some of these really positive changes, and those changes added up, and now he's reaching his 150 minutes a week. So maybe some of this resonates with you. Maybe you have a similar story to Teo, or there are some pieces in there that you're saying, oh, I could do that too. So that's just an example for getting more active.
Right on. And so Angie, if you could put up page 4 so we could see it on the screen, and we'll look at ways to get active. I'm just seeing the PowerPoint right now.
Oh, I'm sorry. There we go. Do you see it now?
There it is. Thank you. So some ways to get active. And, as Angie said, we think about going to a gym or these set concrete things that we do. But, the beauty of this program is to really kind of increase your activities of daily living, which are things that you normally do, but finding ways to do it where you're just moving your body a little bit more. So here's some other great ways to get active. And so I'm going to read through the list, and I'm sure, and if you see one that you think, oh yeah, that's something I could do, maybe put a check mark next to it, or highlight that one. So after you read, if you're a book reader, after every 6 pages or however many pages you want to say, get up and move a little. Another thing you could do is dance to your favorite music. And that could be just one song. A song comes on and you just dance. Oh my God, you just have 3 or 4 minutes. That all adds up. If you're at one of your child's soccer games or a baseball game or something, pacing the sidelines or making a little loop when they're not up playing would be another way. play actively with your children or pets and for 15 to 30 minutes a day or build up to that. And that also just helps them because you're interacting with them and they love it when grown-ups get down and play with them. Replace Sunday drives with Sunday walks. Going out on the dam is a great place where it's nice and flat, or just around your neighborhood if it's safe. When you're doing errands, kind of pick up the pace can really be helpful. Starting a new active hobby, such as biking or hiking. Maybe getting some hiking shoes or checking out some new routes in your community. Taking a walk after dinner with your family or by yourself. This is a real popular one because it's kind of the end of the day and we're just like done, but we think about sitting in front of the TV or something, and there's nothing like going for just a short walk that it's so much more relaxing. Track your steps with a pedometer, and this goes back to that personal accountability. And when you have something like a pedometer or one of those apps that tracks your steps, you can keep track of your progress that way. Working up to 10,000 steps or more a day is a good way to get to that 150 minutes a week. Walk around whenever you talk on the phone. That's another great way. Walk briskly when you shop. Walk up and down escalators instead of just riding them. We don't have too many of those in Ukiah, but you can always walk up them or use the stairs. Same with an elevator. A dog is one of the best motivators to get people out moving because they sure love their walks. And when you watch TV, is stand up and move during the ads or do some chores. So these are just some ideas, and maybe there's some here you can identify with, or maybe there's some others that you will think of, that you can just do in the course of the day that will just our bodies are made to move, and just getting them more active and kind of changing from being sedentary to active can really make a difference in your progress.
So then here on page 5, we have, are you ready to get active? And so this is a piece that's really important as well. We really encourage you to go to this page and check off any statement that's true for you, and then making sure that you talk to your healthcare provider before getting active. So these are some things to keep in mind and consider before getting active. If you're over 50 and haven't been active in a long time, if you're pregnant, and if you don't have the okay, if you get very out of breath when even slightly active, if you have a health problem or other issue not listed here that might need attention before getting active, if you have a heart problem and your healthcare provider wants to keep an eye on how much activity you're doing, if you have bone or joint problems that make it hard to do things like fast walking, if you have chest pain that started within the last month, if you tend to pass out or fall down when you get dizzy, if during or right after a workout you have pain or pressure in your neck, left shoulder, or arm, or if your healthcare provider wants you to take medicine for high blood pressure or a heart problem. So again, if any of these were something that you checked off as true for you, we really encourage you to talk to your healthcare provider about getting active and what is safe for you in terms of getting in your activity.
And what's the other thing is to being active is being safe. Being safe can make a big difference in being able to continue. Because if you get hurt, you might need to take a break, and that slows your progress. So these are some tips to work out safely. As Angie said, is kind of check in with your healthcare provider and just to make sure that you are ready to go. Dress for the activity, wearing the right shoes and clothes, using safety gear as needed, especially as the days are shorter, and you want to go for a walk, but it's dark, it doesn't mean you can't go out. But if you have like a reflective vest on or you're carrying a flashlight, and also just kind of making sure you have shoes that are proper for the type of activity you're choosing. And in the summertime, especially, is drinking water before, during, and after, even if you don't feel thirsty, because our bodies are sweating. We need to replace that sweat with water. Listening to your body, slowing down or stopping if you feel tired, sick, or faint, or if your joints hurt. Sometimes when you haven't exercised in a while, you might feel your muscles might feel tight or sore. That is normal. But if you feel like it's kind of a pain that really is bothering you, either slow down or stop. Um, Mixing it up is a great idea, doing a variety of activity, because that way you're not straining any one part of your body. So that means like one day you might want to go for a hike, and another day go for a bike ride. Another day you might want to do with some resistance bands, do some weights. Um, and this one is really important, number 6, starting small. We really, and most people want to just go out the gate and just do everything, but what that usually backfires. So if you train too hard or too often, you can get hurt or injured, and that will slow your progress. So that slow, steady progress, gradually building, is going to get you further down the road than trying to get there out right away. Warm up before you work out and cool down after your workout. The easiest way to do that is, let's say you're going for a walk, is just start at a very easy pace before you build up to that moderate intensity pace. Same with things like riding a bike or anything you do, just something to get your muscles warmed up in that same type of activity. And then being careful, look where you're going, make sure there's no bumps, you're not going to trip on anything. So you're really kind of watching what's around you. Working with the weather. It's very easy to say, oh, it's raining, I don't want to go out, or, there's many reasons that we're choosing not to. So think about, well, what can you do with that time? Maybe choose a different time, or a different location. If it gets too hot, if you're getting a headache or a fast heartbeat, or you feel dizzy or sick, all these things that can happen, or you're not wearing the right clothes. So making sure you're just kind of going with what the weather is at that time of year. And then lastly, using good form when strength training. And, I would say definitely look into what that means, because not using good form can also get you injured.
So on page 7 through 9, we have how to cope with challenges. And so you'll get very familiar with this type of chart. Each session tries to talk about challenges that you might face regarding each topic. So this is just a really great resource to come back to throughout the whole program. If you're experiencing a challenge, this can help you determine ways to cope with that challenge. So the way this is structured is the left column in blue, you'll see your different challenges that you might face. So this session's topic is getting active. So some of the challenges you might face could be, it's too hot, cold, or wet outside. I don't have time. I don't have childcare. I don't have a car. I feel embarrassed. My area is not safe. It costs too much. It's boring. It's painful or tiring, or it messes up my hair. So maybe those are excuses that you've used before. Maybe those are excuses that you'll use at some point during this program. But again, this is a great resource to come back and see, okay, what's my challenge or my obstacle or my excuse? And you can use this middle column to help identify a way to cope with that. So let's just pick one of these as an example. We won't go through all of them. So how about I don't have childcare? So that's a very common one. Most people in our group, they have young kids. They're constantly giving rides or making sure they're doing their schoolwork, or, cooking meals for the family. So we've heard this one a lot, that, oh, I have to take care of my kids. I don't always have time to fit in a workout or a walk. So some ways to cope with this could be active with your kids. We've had a lot of parents that have started to do just workout videos on YouTube with their kids that are in high school or even younger. Maybe swap childcare with a friend. So plan it so that one day you're watching the kids, one day they're watching the kids. That way you each can fit in that time for yourself. You could ask friends or family to help out if you're lucky to have some loved ones close. There are also some gyms that do offer childcare, so maybe that's an option. If you do choose to go to a gym, maybe look for one that has childcare as an option. So again, these are just some examples for how to address these challenges and make sure that you are still able to fit in your fitness goals. And if you see in this middle column you don't find a reason that works for you, they have this column on the right where you can fill it in yourself. So maybe you'll come up with a different way to cope or a different way to get around that challenge or obstacle. So we encourage you to write those in the column on the right and check those off if you try them, if you use them, and if they work for you. Okay, so I'm going to bring us back to our PowerPoint. So we're going to move on to the action plan, which we introduced in session 1, the last session. And some things to remember as you write your action plan is be realistic, doable, specific, and flexible. And so I'll take us to the action plan again, just to remind us what that looks like. And here we have it. So again, you can write your action and being specific, what I will do, where I will do it, when I will do it, how long I will do it. And then here's your chance to identify the challenges you might face and then ways to cope with these challenges. So this is where pages 7 through 9 come in, what we just talked about. As you make your action plan about getting active, go to those pages and look at what challenges you might face and pick out a way to cope.
Right on. And so I wanted just to go through just a sample of what an action plan could look like and what makes it work and what doesn't make it work. And you might reflect on what happened last week for you and think about the example I'm giving. And if yours didn't work, maybe you can relate to some of this. So let's say on action 1, what I will do, you put down, because we were talking about losing 5 to 7% of your initial body weight. And we also talked about, exercising 150 or more minutes of moderate intensity physical activity each week. So let's just say you put on there, okay, I used to be really fit. I used to play basketball and everything. So 150 minutes, no problem. So I'm going to do 150 minutes a week. Where I will do it, maybe you just said, I'll figure it out. I know I'll be able to do it. So a lot of these things just didn't get filled out. And then this week came along and you got busy. It started raining. And then pretty soon it was the end of the week and maybe you got to 30 minutes. And what I'm suggesting here is instead of saying, wow, I failed at this, is think of it as a learning opportunity, because it's these opportunities that are really going to help you really get these action plans really dialed into work for you. So what I would have said for that particular example is, probably the goal of 150 minutes a week was not realistic. Maybe if you're starting at much less than that, that was too big of a jump. So maybe the goal would have been, I'm just going to do 30 minutes this week, and then you're going to gradually build on that goal. And then you'd want to kind of choose the specifics. Since I've got my kids at home, I'm going to do it at work. When I will do it, I have an hour lunch break, so I can, take half an hour for my lunch, and then I can take another half an hour for walking. And maybe since I'm not walking that much, I might just do 10 minutes right now and do that every day. And then next week I'm going to add 5 more minutes. so you can kind of just plan it ahead. And then, as Angie said, on the challenges you might face, using that chart, which has some, really amazing tips, and you can think, wow, yeah, I didn't do this because it was raining, or because, there was just, my shoes didn't fit, I had the wrong ones that day. And so it's just an opportunity to say you didn't fail. It's just, you have to kind of rethink the way you're doing it. So the next time you do your action plan, you're setting it up for success. And that's what this is all about, is creating these action plans, so you're building on one little success after another, and that way you'll get there. Is this me?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've come to the end of our meeting. Today we discussed how getting active can help you prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. We talked about some benefits of getting active and some ways to get active. Next time we'll talk about the things you tried at home, including your action plan. We're going to also introduce the topic about tracking your physical activity. So just as a reminder, if you're doing this recording session, the CDC guidelines requires that you have direct interaction with your lifestyle coach each session. So after this recording and you've written your action plan, please contact your lifestyle coach to schedule a short call to review the session. And then we'll review it, and then record your weight. So you want to also bring in your weight and tell us what your physical activity minutes were for that week. And then you're done. So thank you for coming to the session. Remember to bring your participant notebook next session and every session. And that's it. We'll see you next time.